Hello, I'm Senator Mark Warner. I'm proud to represent Virginia in the United States Senate. I also serve as Vice Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is conducting the only bipartisan investigation into Russia's interference in our 2016 presidential election. Our intelligence community, the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, and Special Counsel Robert Mueller have all concluded that Russia mounted an unprecedented attack on our democratic process. Russian intelligence conducted hacking operations against democratic targets and then released the stolen documents to influence the election. Using an army of internet trolls, Russia flooded social media with fake news and propaganda designed to sow discord and divide Americans through our news feeds. We also know that as part of its interference campaign, the Kremlin also targeted election infrastructure in all 50 states. The intelligence community's assessment in January 2017 concluded that Russia secured and maintained access to multiple elements of U.S. state and local electoral boards. For example, in Illinois, Russian hackers were able to penetrate a voter registration database and access 90,000 voter registration records. Using spear phishing emails, Russia was able to access the network of at least one county in Florida. Now, there's no evidence that the Russians were successful in changing vote totals in 2016 or in 2018, but we can certainly expect them to try again in 2020. While the Department of Homeland Security has improved information sharing with states and Congress has allocated some additional funding for election security, there is still more work to do to secure local election equipment ahead of the presidential election. In 2016, Russia exploited platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube to manipulate and divide Americans, to smear Hillary Clinton, and to aid Donald Trump. As we enter another presidential election cycle susceptible to foreign interference, Congress needs to put in place some common sense guardrails on social media. We should start with the Bipartisan Honest Ads Act, which I introduced, which would prevent foreign actors from purchasing online political ads and bring much needed transparency to the online ad ecosystem. There's already a bill to protect our election systems that has strong bipartisan support. The Secure Elections Act from the last session of Congress would establish some common sense measures to ensure the sanctity of the ballot box. It would provide states with money to replace old, insecure voting machines that don't leave a paper trail, and make sure that elections can be audited so that Americans can have confidence in the results. It would also take several steps to improve sharing about threat information between the Department of Homeland Security and states that administer the vote. And it would require election agencies to promptly report suspected cybersecurity incidents to proper state and federal authorities. Truth is, the Secure Elections Act that was introduced last session were brought to the floor today for a vote, it would pass overwhelmingly. But the White House and Senate Republican leaders have been blocking a vote. Unfortunately, that's just part of a pattern, with a White House and a president that's shown no interest in tackling this problem. According to reports, the former Secretary of Homeland Security was instructed not to even raise the issue of election security with the president. And when she tried to convene a cabinet-level meeting ahead of the 2018 midterms, the White House Chief of Staff nixed the idea. Well, what will happen in 2016 will happen again in 2020 if we're not prepared. In the face of White House inaction to secure the vote, Congress must work together to protect our democracy and reassure Americans that their votes will be counted in 2020. We cannot let election security become another tombstone in the Republican Senate's legislative graveyard.